Well,
disingenuous.
and a part of my response to that would also be, and I do this shit for you guys, motherfucker. I'm not making any
Yeah,
money. I'm not
no,
promoting my books,
no,
you know. I'm making sure that videos of fucking uh Diane DePrima are still available out there one day, you know, or
yeah,
that, you know, the guy on the West Coast who's publishing that book that's, scatological in nature, that's not getting the response he deserves. Well,
yeah.
I'll talk about that fucking book. Come on, let's talk about it. I'm not scared of shit.
No, no. And I think that's I think to
I
answer to
feel
your
your frustration, obviously.
yeah, to answer to your question though, what you just displayed to me is honesty, truth, and the personification of what it is to be an artist, the mentality, the passion. People are intimidated by it. They're so intimidated by it. And it's not about just intelligence, it's about that enthusiasm. And it's easy to, like what they've done to Fran, pat you on the head. Oh,
Yeah.
well done, kid. Give you that sleazy wink. And you're like, I just want to stab you with that fucking prize. It's a world full of disingenuous people and those closest to you as well. Like I'm a very emotional person, and and this is the thing with the autism and the artist and the publisher.
Right.
I'm wrapped up in one. My books are me, my press is me, my videos are
Right.
me,
Right.
and I get very emotionally invested. And it's only recently that my closest friend in the publishing industry, who I've just written a book with, Renee George Vazacek, who's based in New York, he said, "You need to dislocate. You need to be a robot." And I was like, I can't do it. He's like, you're going to have to, or you're going to kill yourself with this. You're going to have to. And then he said, instead of you using the I, me, Zach, we. And then as soon as I started using that we, I had so much power in those conversations because even though Laura's not as involved in it, that we is powerful enough to go, she's here, she's watching how you're treating me, and it ain't on.
Well, and whoever is watching understands who we is. If
We,
they're not the we you're talking about, they know who the we is in their own mind. So you win either way.
I
yeah,
think that's why politicians use it so much, you know. I think we is a it's a powerful word and that's why they use it.
yeah. Oh, now you've said that, I don't want to use it now.
Oh no, you
Well,
know, they've given us a
well,
tool. We can
Yeah,
it's
take them
like,
down with it.
I mean, Fran knows that one of my pastime habits is I like to go through stuff that I wrote 15 years ago and go through it again and rewrite it and rehash it and take
oh, I
words
do
out,
that all the
add words.
time.
I mean, seriously, that's all I do. I don't hardly write any new shit anymore. I'm just making my old shit into new shit and changing the tone. But, you know, it is all a part of me. And those experiences were, started in a journal. They ended up being streamlined and chopped and edited. And when they felt right, they went to the public. I mean, that's kind of how I separate them. Have these been seen or not? Do these need work or not? And I chip away at that stuff. But one of the key things was I realized that these are all my personal stories, so they were written from that perspective. And I need to change that some and use a we every once in a while, or a he, or the boy, or something other than I was there doing this with this person and blah blah blah. I, I'm I always tease Fran that it requires a thesaurus for me to read too much of her stuff because I don't even understand. But that's
I
more joke.
pretend. I
It,
pretend. I
yeah,
pretend that I know what these ancestral, almost like
that's the ones. That's
spellbinding
the
magical,
ancestral ones. Those fuckers.
the ancestral, that beautiful foreign, alien language, and
But
this.
see, that's what reading it in poetry is supposed to do is make you go, "Whoa, what's
Yes,
that about?"
it educates you. It
Yeah,
educates you if you engage enough with it. It educates you.
and it
Um,
teaches you to go and educate yourself if you don't
ex-
know.
exactly, exactly. Like I'm not gonna lie, I wrote a book after reading one of Fran's poetry collections, and it was just centered around Latin because
Hmm.
this book, I
Hmm.
can't recall which one it's called, Fran, but it was very Latin based. And I was like, oh yeah, she uses Latin really well. I'm gonna try and do something with that now.
Yeah, don't tease
And
her
then you
with the
educate
Gaelic.
yourself.
Don't tease
Yes.
her with the fucking Gaelic, okay?
Oh, I couldn't cross. I couldn't cross that bridge. I mean, it's beautiful to hear. It's beautiful to read, and try and get your mouth around it. And this is
It's
what I like
hard.
about it. But it forces you in a lot of ways, because growing up with autism, I used to mispronounce things all the time, and I'd
Mm.
mangle it. And when someone would correct me, I'd be like, "No, fuck you. Faux pas is forks pass." You know.
Right,
So
right.
I would be strident with it, but then it forces you to you become aware of your tongue. It's really strange. It's like rereading it and all the Gaelic stuff. It forces your tongue, but also forces you to think, and it almost you transcend back into those times and those days, and that's just the power of it. And I saw an interview with you recently, Fran, and it was this young lady was like, "I didn't understand any of that, but it's good," and I'm like, "Yes, we feel that. Say it a little bit nicer though." You know what I mean? So, like, okay, don't underplay it. It's very powerful. But the thing is, you're playful with it. I wouldn't say it's meta contextual, but it can be.
No.
It plays back into itself. It will refer back to itself, and it will say to the audience, "I'm not trying to be condescending," which a lot of poetry does. So
Mm.
much poetry is condescending nowadays,
Well,
whereas
you
yours
you
isn't.
you walk away like you've heard a story,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I'm glad that that happens. I mean, I think I started, sort of like Gaelic, but not just Gaelic, but also words in kind of shelter and slang, and also, I mean, like Yiddish and stuff is in there as well. I mean, all kinds of shit is in there, and it's like I remember taking these to poetry school, and we had these very kind of like middle class people at poetry school who'd be like, "Well, you need a glossary at the end to tell people because," I'm like, "But when
I'm
people are
not. You're not
using."
J.R.R. Tolkien. Go away.
But when people are using, when somebody, higher up the food chain uses a word in French or a phrase in German from a classical German poem, a classical French poem, or a classical Latin poem, they don't tell us what they mean because that's what that's there for. It's to keep us out. And it's to say, well, you're not the implied audience for that.
Mm.
Well, maybe you, motherfucker, are not the implied audience for my work. And I think, and,
Yes.
and it's fine if you want to read it, but if you want to read it and you want to participate and you want to be in this world, then you do the work.
Yeah.
You have to,
Yeah.
and I don't think there's anything, I think otherwise you just end up kind of like passively art imbibing shit, right? You kind of,
Mm.
it's just palliative slop. You might as well be drinking a protein shake. It's not art. Just work, do the work.
Yeah.
What's
Do the
wrong with
work.
protein shakes?
Nothing, but I would drink it, but I wouldn't want to read it. It's
No.
Yeah,
No.
but it does have its art qualities.
does. But I think that's what I love about your work, Zach, is that, it's so dense and it does, and because it often deliberately incorporates mistakes and it riffs on those mistakes and those mishearings, it forces you to really think about like the stuff of language, like what the words we're saying are actually made of and what language is as a kind of a tool and a material,
Yeah.
and to sort of
Yeah.
like and not just sort of unconsciously fart things out into the ether. It's that attention to that detail, which is something that I really love. I
Thank
also
you.
want to talk. I
You're the
also want
best
to.
in the world at it too. You're the best at it, I know.
I also want
That
to
is
talk to you about. I've got to get this out because I have to. I have to ask about Kenji. I have to ask about your collaborations with Kenji Suratori because.
Well, one day I think he hates me. Another day I think that he wants my career to end. That next thing I'm a master director and I should quit writing. Then another day that I don't exist. This is the enigma of Kenji. He's not even a robot. He is beyond a robot. And the thing with Kenji is his bold blanket statements that he puts out online. It gets to you and it does make you question. You're like, oh, is that personal? That's the ingenuity of it, because that holds up the mirror to your ego. Because I'm not going to lie, he's put up a few things, and I'm like, how dare you? But actually, I'm honestly like giggling because that's why I love him so much. Because what he does with language within his work, he doesn't consider himself a writer. He doesn't consider himself an autonomous futurist robot. It's just, and the thing is, it's staccato rhythm. It's his writing is noise, but as personified as literature. And he would hate that. He's probably gonna like unfriend me again on Facebook because I said it's literature. But this is like the enigma of Kenji. This is the enigma of him. This is what is so special about him. Also, he's he's the type, because you listen to some of the music that he's created and you go, holy fucking shit, how you created that, I have no idea, in the sense of how do you put up with it. And I'm very particular in that sense because I'm very visual. So when I listen to these noise soundscapes, I'm like, what can I do with that visually? But when it's just like, I'm not interested. I'm just disconnected. But when it has a rhythm, it has a beat, it has a curvature to it. Like when I do my noise, I like to ensure that it has a bit of a tempo and that it has a little bit of something that you can cling on to, like a raft out at sea, like it's something that you can hold on to. But the collaboration with Kenji is as simple as this. I write a bit, you write a bit. I write a bit, you write a bit. Kenji comes back to you in 2 months. I've put out a book. Oh, okay. I read the book. Well, where the fuck is all the writing that Kenji sent me? He's just published my writing. Oh, 1 minute. He's inserted a few pictures. Oh, he's inserted a line there. Oh, okay. And this is where his whole Kenji verses comes from. It's almost like I'd say it's like a producer credit. It's a publisher credit, but he's just doing it in a fun way. And I upset him because he started lining up a lot of people for collaborations in the verses. And I went, hold up. I went, who wins in this fight? And he went, oh, Zak's moaning, is he? Because I'm working with other people. And I was like, yeah, too right, motherfucker. And then he sent me a whole load of work, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to smash this book out Zak style, and I did. And then it's that rhythm, and there's some writers that are taking more time with their prose because they're very focused on prose stylings. Like I know that Ryan Madej is working with Kenji, and I know that Ryan's going to be so particular, so delicate with this, and I can just imagine Kenji biting his fingers, going, "Just send me the fucking work back," because that's what he's like. And he won't put that across to you, but that is very much what he's like. And he's doing a collaboration with Renee George of Azacek called Organ Blick, which is like a 700-page collaboration. And he said to me, trailer a day. I went, excuse me? He went, I want a trailer a day. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to call your bluff, mate. I'm going to do it. So I started making a trailer a day for him. It was exhausting because each of those trailers take me a good, like, 5 to 8 hours, and I just sit there just doing it on my phone. And then all of a sudden he went, you're a master, you're a director, quit writing.
It's giving with one hand and taking away with another.
Yeah, and I think that's what keeps you on your toes with Kenji. And I think it's not. I don't think he's being spiteful. I don't think he's being malicious. It's with tongue in cheek, and it's that anarchy and that scatology and that schizoid, Dada enthusiasm and madness. And I like that because he came to us at Sweat Drenched Press with Paracelsus and he said, keep the royalties. I went, okay. And by keeping the royalties, kept us going for 8 months. Same with Andrew C. Winehouse. Keep the royalties. Without him, we wouldn't have been able to do a full year. And then David Roden got hold of me and he said, I would like a video for Prague Micro Festival. I said, I'm not going to take money. I said, but you can donate to Sweat Drenched Press. And he donated to Sweat Drenched Press, and I managed to publish 5 books that I'm really proud of because of that. But then, everything ends up crumbling. you look in the piggy bank and go, I have no money to put out any more books. And I've recently had to tell people I can't publish you. We have nothing in the Sweat Drenched Press piggy bank. And the whole multimedia scape of Sweat Drenched Press, I think a lot of people initially assumed I was doing it for oh, he's over here, he's over there, he's trying to network. No, it's just outlets for me to express. And I love making my videos, but I realized that I was doing a lot of work on the behalf of a lot of authors' books, and those trailers, they were getting the views, but they weren't getting the sales. So I went, fuck this. I've put so much effort into all these trailers, and they may be really rough and ready, but I put so much into these bloody things. And I just thought, and no one really seems to garner how much goes into it apart from you. Because when you said, would you like to collaborate? I was like, fuck yes, because we're on the same wavelength. There's a symbiosis. And I know that the videos I'm going to send you, you're not going to go, I don't like that scratch of grain in the corner. like that type of people that you're dealing with.
Oh, God.
So it's an honor to do that, and it's a privilege. And when like you get a donation and that can keep your press going, or someone offers all their royalties to your press, because that's where you go. They're an artist, they understand. Also, Andrew C. Winehouse is a top dog professor, and he's always getting grants. So
He
he's
can
always
afford it.
it is paying forward in so many ways, and it's kind. And the same goes with Kenji, with Mushroom Dwellers, that beautiful little pink book. It's like, you keep the royalties, dude, because I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm really not. And I think the first time I ever spent any royalties on myself, I just got a coffee.
Same.
I just got a coffee. I just got a coffee. And one of the bigger paydays was when Dennis Cooper featured the System Compendium, and I got like 30 quid. And that was like for like 8 months. And to me, I was salivating. I'm like, yeah, I can afford 2 hardcovers.
Exciting. The thing is that you get it as well. You're just like so overwhelmed to have this money that you run out and you buy, because you're, sort of Brighton or London adjacent. You run out and you buy 1 cup of coffee and 1 book by one other person, and then you have nothing again.
Yeah.
And it's gone. It's gone.
In a blink of an eye. Yeah, it is just gone. And I try to be nice. I go to the independent businesses. I want to pay it forward in that sense. Fuck Costa and Starbucks.
Yeah.
Try
But it's
and do good.
£5 for a flat white.
Yeah, what was it? It was a minuscule mocha with an adjacent Biscoff, and it was £8, and I'm like, I'm paying for that fucking biscuit, ain't I?
Yeah, it's a free biscuit. It's
Yeah.
not free. Nothing is free under capitalism.
Nothing's
Don't
no,
trust the biscuit. The
no.
biscuit lies.
That's gonna be my next book. Don't trust the biscuit. The biscuit.
Well, don't worry too much about capitalism. It's not going to last much longer.
No, not in the state of what's going on in Ukraine, and it's madness. And this is when you sit back and you go, I have it so lucky. I have it so lucky. And then you have arguments with people who are like, but no different. Like a disabled person with the legs don't work. They're used to it. Still doesn't make it all right, mate.
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
That's a
Well,
crazy.
and it puts I mean, there's limitations with that we don't need to go into, but one of the reasons for the whole rant about social yet distance that I go on a regular basis is all that effort has been put into this project for a long, long time, with the understanding that at some point it'll pay itself off and it'll become an automated system of sorts where those who are left behind me will easily be able to kind of run the empire,
Yeah.
But it inevitably gets to the point where resources, energy, time, and motivation get sucked up by the fact that you've done all the work now, and now you can't even fucking afford to promote it.
Yeah.
I can't buy ads for all these places I should be buying ads. I could
I don't
build
think
my
you should.
audience.
I don't think you should either, because this is the thing what I'm saying about this whole machine. We feed it because will it pay dividends? Maybe on one good day, but in the end of the day, it will just still see you out of pocket. I'm just very cynical when it comes to that, and I think just like the whole ventures of this is, you've got to have that passion, you've got to have that love, and then
There's no doubt about that. I mean, I would do it if I knew I was never going to get paid. This is what I do for fun. So I mean, that's not the issue. It's just, it would be nice, considering the skill base that's been modified in order to meet that goal, if there was some payoff for that.
Yeah. Well, it would be nice. I mean, like, listen, motherfuckers, Zak Ferguson here, all one audience member I have. Hit subscribe on Social Yet Distance. If you get 1 subscriber from that, that's good enough for me. But that's the thing. You want people to pay it forward, in a sense. And it's so simple. It's so simple. Hit a share, hit a like, and don't do it out of a sense of obligation because everyone else is doing it. And that's where it stops them. Oh, no one's liked this. No one's shared this. I'm just going to scroll past it. No, engage with it, process it. What is it actually saying? What is it actually pertaining to? They just see like that thumbnail and they're like, no. And
Right.
this is a thing with
And those are
Substacks.
the tricks of the trade that I've learned all along the way is, the thumbnail theories and how you write your descriptions and what you need to put where and are keywords important or not and blah blah blah. I know how all that stuff works to the best of my ability based on my experience up to this point. There's always things I can learn and will
Yeah.
continue to learn. I mean, the AI thing, that's just kind of a joke. I mean, that's the truth of the matter is that's me grabbing text documents and dropping them into a computer program that gives me the images that go with it, and that's all it is. It's not like I did.
We've used a lot of AI
Yeah,
because it's free and you get some good looking covers. What I
it's
try
good
to
shit.
implement,
Yeah,
yeah, what I try to implement with the artificial intelligence is collage it, because then at least you've
Mm,
got a sense of
right.
reappropriation.
yes.
Because I think you're reappropriating that art which has been created by an assemblage of other art pieces. AI
Right.
is collage, but it's just finessed. But then if you go
Well,
in,
and what I tend to do is I'll take the AI image and run it through some other processes
yeah,
that
Mm,
make
yeah,
it at least look closer than to human or real or whatever the grudge
yeah,
look might be that I'm looking for, whatever.
yeah,
There's tools for that as well, so I know how to remedy that as well. But it's those kind of things, those kind of tools and tricks and finding them and learning them and applying them requires a lot of trial and
yeah,
loss, and
yeah.
it would be nice to have some reward, but I would do it whether I ever got paid or not, just because I enjoy doing it, you
Well,
know.
yeah.
I destroyed my laptop using that AI generator. So yeah,
Wow.
destroyed it. I paid for my sins on that one.
Well, thank God I used my phone.
Oh, it was my laptop was steaming as if I was going on some really nasty dark web porn websites. My laptop
Wow,
was just like, no, I can't cope under this. This is ridiculous.
that's pretty
And
scary.
and they were the best images that they had ever produced, and I couldn't fucking save.
And this is the problem, I think. This is another problem. It's like, well, how do you make art in a situation where you have nothing and when something breaks, that's literally it.
Yeah,
And you can keep finding workarounds. But even things like, and I know that you mentioned earlier, it would be so great if I could sit in my basement and make zines, right? Like that you
Right.
sort of there is a middle class kind of subculture that valorizes kind of like earlier outdated forms of proletarian production,
mm,
Mhm.
which aren't actually possible for working class people alive now,
no,
because who has the money or the time, because to do that it's a lot of time and it's a lot of space, like physical space is required. Who is living in an enormous great big house where you can spread everything all over the floor?
Right.
yeah, yeah. And I
Like
don't think the
nobody.
local libraries will appreciate what I'm printing out.
Yeah, exactly. It's and just things like owning very basic things, things like owning a printer, being able to afford to, operate a printer, a working laptop and the software to do this stuff. It's like, and what I like about, I think one of the things that I like about Sweat Press is that finding of working around, and that the working around is not, nobody tries to hide it. It's right there. It's so explicit. And it's this embrace of like the trash and the discards and all these disavowed forms of kind of like of art making and culture in
Yeah.
one space. And I think this is, I think actually that's really exciting, because at the end of the day, we're a trash culture, and that's all that's going to be left is a big, big pile of trash.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny that you mention that because talking about antiquated devices, I recently looked at the system compendium. I don't have a habit of looking at my work. I'm not that weird. And Mike Correa wrote an introduction for it, and his whole thesis and backdrop to the book was, I'm honoring antiquated devices. I'm using what he considered antiquated, and rereading it. I love Mike Correa, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, oh, dude, this is showing your stripes a bit. I make covers off PowerPoint because it's not antiquated. That's all I have. What you have is InDesign. You have these top-notch things because you can afford it. So
Right.
he saw my big chunky autistic manifesto as a book that, oh, he's creating shitty images on PowerPoint. Oh, that's cool. And it's just like, no, that's not what the book's about, dude.
Right.
The book isn't about antiquated devices. It's about being autistic in a lot of ways and the systems put in place. And rereading that introduction, it dawned on me again, like, I love him, I appreciate him, but I was just like, oh yeah, maybe that introduction shouldn't be there. But then again, it's weird to have it there, so I'm keeping it
Yeah.
there. But rereading it, I was just like, But you, of course, Fran, I think got the System Compendium when you first read it and wrote your lovely review, and you got it. You were symbiotic with it. You understood it. You knew where the autistic angle was coming from and all such and sundry. But Grant Meyerhofer, his front piece blurb, because he didn't have the time to write it because it was such a big book and such a big undertaking, like almost like 600 pages of almost typos and errors every page. And he said, I haven't got the time to do it. I'm like, you know what, dude, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. But I sent him an audio clip explaining that it's constantly fluid, it's in motion, and I will send him one final version, and if he has the time, go at it. And because KDP kept denying it because it just didn't like the book because of all of its weirdness and going off the margins and all that, and he came back with that blurb. And even though blurbs get you ever so far, like I have blurb pieces from Dennis Cooper, and everyone's like, "Yeah, I bet you sold well." No, no, and Dennis knows that. Dennis said to me, he's like, "You can put it on your book. I highly doubt it's going to get it that many." I'm like, "Thank you for your faith in my writing, Dennis." But he knows the churn. He knows the grind. But what I really liked about that Grant Meyerhofer one was he succinctly got it, like also the introduction for the autistic manifesto that you did. It was just like, yes, this person gets it, and that's enough for me. And that book has sold 5 copies. 5 copies.
5 copies.
How dare you? 5 copies. But because you engaged with it, and I had that lovely introduction, and I was like, I'm associated with Fran Lock now. That was enough. That was just enough. I'm like, it's collaboration with a friend in a way, and it's the same with the video. I just like to be around mutually minded people, but people who can have gallows humor, who doesn't take the world too seriously, who won't at a jump because you said something that seemed a bit misplaced on Facebook and want to tear you down. We're all human.
Yeah.
We're fucking complicated, far too complicated, considering that we were tadpoles not that long ago. But this is the issue with the human race. We've become so advanced, we're at an impasse, we're a stalemate, we have nowhere to go. All this talk of getting out there, evolving, cures to all these illnesses, we're stuck, we're fucked. So whilst we're here and we're in the dirt, let's kick up the dirt a little bit. Actually, let's write about it. Let's just create art. And the thing is, our pairing with artistic endeavors, we so need that recognition sometimes. And I think you're in this really, really predicament, Fran, where the circles that you're within, it's necessary to get those prizes. It's necessary to get that oomph, to get that. But when it's taken away, you can tell that there's this conflicted emotion of I shouldn't get upset about it, but it would have changed so much for me, around me, and that's where you are at as an artist. They're proffering me this hand that will potentially feed me, but as soon as they go, no, fuck you, you're not worth it. If I bite at them, they're going to blacklist me, and it's that horrible. There's no nice positioning. And when I see that you're getting nominated for these prizes, I'm like, fuck yeah. But you know what will make a difference? If anyone's watching this, listening to this, give it to her. She deserves it. As simple as that. She deserves it. And it's not even the case of she needs it, she deserves it. And it's I think it's high time that the working class, the scum of the earth, we rise up. And I think when the world does end, I think we will be on the top of the mountain screaming. We will be the ones that are going, yeah, fuck you. They're going to be in their bunkers thinking they're all safe and cozy. Yeah. Do you know what a nuclear blast actually does, you dumb bastards? But yeah.
Going out screaming loudly, I think, is the
Well, I
best
think
way
that
to
anybody
block.
who's been privileged enough to watch the journey that Fran has gone through clearly understands that she's earned it. And anybody that's read her work should know that as well. Zach, do you have any writing handy you want to share with us today?
No.
Do you want to pull one out your ass or out of the air?
Oh,
I'm kidding. I'm putting you on the spot. I'm being funny.
uh,
Talk to
I
me. Talk to me about your about current status with books and events and whatever you have going on right now.
Yeah.
it's going to sound bad, but Sweat Trench Press is shot in the head like a horse. Its legs are broken, but a phoenix rises.
Yes.
What I'm just going to say is I'm cutting out a lot of fat, and I'm bringing it back home. It's going to be a place for familiars and those who understand it. I cannot tell you how many submissions I get, and you get down to the crunch of it. They have no awareness of the press. It's just a press to them to submit to. They assume that you have money. They assume that you have a committee board. One person gave me shit because I didn't have a sensitivity reader. And it was just, it's like, okay, Laura, you're good with your emotions. Can you be my sensitivity reader? And she's just like, no, fuck off. Okay, no, we ain't got a sensitivity reader. It doesn't work that way. Also, fuck you for thinking that we need one.
Yeah.
It's there was an argument recently online about you can't judge a person by their bookcase. No, you can't. You people, when this has happened recently, I was sharing my reading of Matt Walsh. Oh, that glorious American who shoves
Oh God, you
a
didn't.
crucifix up his arse.
No, you didn't.
And I was reading what makes a woman, and you know what? It should have been what makes a man, because he ain't a man. He's just disgusting. I couldn't believe what I was reading. But you have to read the opposition, and people don't realize that. I read Matt Walsh because I wanted to study him. I read Jim Goad because there's one side of Jim Goad where I'm like, yes, you're talking about the working class in America. Then there's another side where I'm like, no, no, no. What reality are you living in? No. Like Jim Goad going out and randomly giving $1 to a hard up black man just so he can say something into a microphone. That's not you doing your due diligence, Jim. That's you being a cunt. See, don't like him, but I can read him and appreciate him.
Yeah.
But then as soon as you're a Nazi, you're a sympathizer. What? What? Look at me, I look like Marilyn Manson, and next, before you know it, I'm going to get accused of all the things he's been accused of. That's how the world works. This is how the world works now. It's, I've got one, if I had one glove on, it's like, Shamal, you're Michael Jackson's biggest fan. No, I just was wearing one glove. This is the type of mentality we deal with now in society. And death by social media, like a independent artist recently committed suicide because he had relations with this young girl on Instagram and admitted, yeah, she was a little bit young for him, blah, 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 blah. But then when you just pick it all apart, it's just been highlighted in the wrong areas, decontextualized. And this guy got to the point where he went, I'm going to be a martyr. I'm going to kill myself because it's going to be revealed legally, these conversations I've had with her. Because no matter what I've put out into the universe, I'm bad, I'm flawed, I'm fucked, I'm evil. And it makes me uncomfortable. It's every time you look into social media, your anus just, it's horrible because you're like, what can I say? What can't I say? Can I make a joke? Like when I made a cancer joke in the thread earlier, I was like, oh shit. Does Fran know someone with cancer? Does Jack know someone with cancer? Oh fuck, are they going to cancel this interview? Because every interview that I've been invited to leading up to this, they've pulled me. Why have you pulled me? My podcast of 25 subscribers, we just feel that you're a bit tricky. We feel that you won't be good for our podcast. Oh, all 25? Oh, fuck me, sorry.
Well, I've got 24 of them in my living room. You sure you don't want to do that?
It's that type of world, and I think that's where a lot of my humor comes from in my books and it feeding into itself. But I just went on another tangent. I do apologize. That's why I
No,
do.
no,
That's why it's
tangents are
called
good.
articulate. It's called articulate warbling because I just waffle.
I can't tell you the number of rewatches I've made where I was the one who talked the whole time. It's like, hey, let me interview this big poet, and then I talk the whole time.
Fran's laughing because she's like, "It's true."
It's
Oh
true.
yeah,
But it's not
very-
as bad as I think the interview that I mean, you've done a couple of sessions with Padra now, haven't you, Jack? When
yes.
Padra and I sat down to do our first interview, and you could tell it was just like two old Irish folks in a room. It went on for about 3 hours.
Well, I've learned a bit more about editing, so we'll cut out all the unnecessary
The miscellaneous
all the ums and the blank spots. Yeah. In
Yeah.
fact, I think I ran across a film AI tool that will take all the ums out for us.
Yeah. That's they can do that now. But the thing is, these AI things aren't up to much scratch because I played with some AI audio cutting, and because I'm a southerner and I do sound like I'm talking through a wet sponge, it just cut out everything. So and I just wanted it to cut out the yes and I know and you know. It was should
I
put it
like
out as noise.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a good noise.
fortunately,
Yeah.
the interviews I leave pretty much as they are.
Yeah,
And I've learned the
integrity.
lesson that I need to cut myself out sometimes.
No, don't. No,
Well,
inhibitions
look, I
and
mean, my tact is if it's too long, but there's too much to cut, I'll cut it in half and we'll do 2 sessions.
Yeah.
A part 1 and part 2. It's that easy. And
That
then
works.
it just gets promoted twice, you know.
yeah, exactly. Then the funny thing is, you get more views on the second part than the first part.
That either
Why is
way, they'll
that?
both have the link to the other part. So
It's peculiar because I made a cut up experimental documentary, like fuck, about Francis Bacon, and I loved it. I really enjoyed doing it. I was very proud of it, and because I'm one of those nerds. Like, if even if I'm watching like an episode of The Only Way Is Essex, I'm like, is there an audio commentary? I want to know how they did this episode. I'm a nerd for really ridiculous stuff like this. Like, I'm watching Babylon 5 at the moment, and I'm really like disheartened because there's no audio commentary track. So I did an audio commentary track for it for the Francis Bacon video.
Excellent.
Much higher ratings. And that's just me waffling over the footage.
yeah.
And like I have loads of like views and all of my Chucky movie reviews. And then when I try to be trendy, no views.
It's bizarre. I don't know what the metric is that, and I
No.
have no, and I feel like if I was able to understand what attracts people.
Well, I think that the
Put
biggest
part one out as part two.
I think the biggest misunderstanding people have is this word algorithm. If you switch that word to audience, there's your answer. You know, you need to know your audience and know what triggers them and what would draw them in, and then make sure that whatever mechanism your cover image for the video or whatever is appropriate and matched to the actual story and has the title on it so you can read it.
Well, half the viewers are those of whom want to chat shit about you.
Mhm.
So thank you for those metrics, thank you for those views, because
Exactly.
it's true. Because I know so many people will probably come across this or something I've done. They go, Zak Ferguson, I don't like him. What can I decontextualize? Oh, he said a joke about did he say a joke about sex? Oh, automatically he's a rape sympathist. And it's just like, get a fucking grip.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wish they would come at me about that. Yeah, that would be fun for them.
Why did you get that jerk on there? Why did you get Zak A arsehole Ferguson on there? And I'm like, well, bitch, I got rid of the A, so who's
Because
laughing
he's
now?
published more books than you, that's why.
Yeah, that means very little when you only get 5 sales.
Yeah, it does mean a lot though when you're in this end of the business like I am.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
So
I think
anyway, enough about YouTube training. We'll do that later. Um, My secret's your secret and vice versa.
Exactly.
Anything else, Fran?
Anything else? Do I have anything else? Oh my God, just random chatting shit. I think we're gonna cut it very soon because I've got a dog who is she was
Giving
on
you
my
the
pillow.
eyes.
Well, she's awake again and she's now trying to get under the duvet. She was on my pillows, wiping her nose on the pillows, and now she's under half under the
Will
duvet.
she be making her TV debut this evening?
You gonna come on TV, Luna? She's like, no.
Luna, Luna. Hey, Luna, it's your Uncle Jack. I'm way far away and you can come visit.
She's so zonked out now. Are you staying under the blanket? Is that what we're doing? Okay.
Luna, can you hear me?
She's not so. Manny used to be quite interactive. Manny used to bark at you back in the
Yeah,
day. You and I were
Manny, he
talking.
barked when I was on the Zoom and he was downstairs. He came upstairs at one time.
Yeah, he did.
I think he lives here now. He bugs me and says, call Fran.
Yeah, call for check in on her. She's struggling. She's flapping around, a shark in a boat again.
Oh God.
This new little lady in your life, she's gonna introduce something new for you, Fran. She's gonna, you know,
Yeah.
like it felt like a loss because you live vicariously through people on Facebook, don't you? And even though I've never met you in real life and I've never stroked Manny, you build bonds and you see, and you're just like, fuck. And to be honest, the death of an animal is so more potent and just agonizing than a real life death. When people say that, it really fucking annoys a real life death in comparison to what my dog wasn't alive, it was a facsimile. It's so yeah, I'm so sorry about Manny, but if you're into the whole spiritual nature of things, they are there probably
Yeah.
doing the things that they couldn't get away with. Because I always think that my boxer Labrador Todd is pissing up my leg. It's just this weird sense that because we called him Tiddler because he peed all the time. He just kept dribbling, and he didn't care. He just like lift his leg, have a little dribble, and I just get this sense that he's next to me doing it up me. It's just weird. And you get those senses and all that, but this new Luna, she's going to inject a bit of fire into your life.
Definitely.
I
feel
think
like
all the speaking about urine is a great intro for the podcast. Will you
I
guys?
think so as well. This is brilliant. I feel like this is cool.
Zak Ferguson, author who believes that the ghost of his dog pisses up his leg.
It's like one of those National Enquirer kind of front covers, right?
Hey, you know what? They sold a lot of fucking magazines.
Yeah. Okay, what else can I come up with? Oh, my great aunt shits at the end of my bed as a ghost. That's enough.
Well, that's that's between you and her though. You don't have to share that here.
I know. I know. She had issues. She kept thinking that the end of the bed basket was a commode. I just let her get on with it.
Yeah, well, they get old, they get forgetful.
I don't think she was forgetful. I think she was spiteful. I think she wanted to get me up.
That might be the case too. I never met that one, but I wasn't invited to stay many occasions. So, all right, guys, I think we've done all the damage we could do.
I think
I got
so.
some editing
I
to
think
do.
I've broken Fran. Broken Fran.
I will do some editing, and sometime in the next 24 hours or so, I will have it up and live, and I will send you guys a message.
Yeah, I
Franny
think
is available.
we should just do this even if it's not recording. I've had a very nice time.
I have as
Well,
well.
just something to think about, Zach. I'm thinking about doing a live thing like every week or couple weeks. So keep that in mind if you might be interested in something like that, because I think adding that live factor will add to the views as well.
Yeah.
Do a little pre-announcement and all that kind of stuff. So that's next on my agenda. I just haven't jumped into it because I don't trust my laptop at this point. But so I have to be very careful and not overload things. That's why the AI stuff is just a joke, because I know mine would go up in flames. That's why I was laughing.
Yeah.
But my phone, however, does just fine, which
Yeah,
is
your phone will survive a nuclear holocaust.
it's amazing, yeah. And make sure to let me know when it's time to get a new one. All right, so that's it. Anything else, guys?
We're
No, just thank you
good.
very much.
Yeah, no, it's been
Yeah, I
good.
think
It's been
I think
fun.
it's going to end up being a really good one.